Welcome to another rousing episode of Unraveling Intellectual Property with Michael Stein. Today we've got Marc Whipple back, our ever knowledgeable attorney here at Stein IP with this ton of experience. And the topic that we're going to cover today is artificial intelligence and its use in business and its implications. It's huge topic. Everyone's talking about AI. It's like the new thing, greatest thing since sliced bread. So we thought we'd delve into the topic. Marc, welcome.
Thank you.
Let's get started. We'll start off with the general nature. I mean, we're not going to cover every little aspect of this, but from a general and I guess non-IP aspect, what are some of the issues in the use of AI today that businesses need to be concerned about because everyone wants to rush to adapt some components of AI in their business?
Well, to me, the first one that comes to mind is not the one that I usually hear about. And to me, that is unless you are running your own AI on your own computer, which just literally last week became a lot more practical with the release of DeepMind. Um, but
I think
as
it's
far,
deep something else.
is it?
Deep mind?
I get deep, if you know.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, the Chinese one.
Ah,
Anybody who's familiar with AI will know which one I mean. If I'm
I
misnaming it,
think it's
oh, DeepSeek. DeepSeek, that is correct.
yeah, okay.
Thank you to our anonymous corrector. But DeepSeek, I beg your pardon. So, um, if you're running DeepSeek on your own computer or even whatever AI, there are several LLMs that you can use to start an AI on your local servers. If you're using a cloud-based AI, what I like to say about the cloud is this: there is no such thing as the cloud. There are only computers you don't own and can't control. And that definitely applies when it's running the AI that you're using. Anything you ask the AI to do, somebody could theoretically be finding out exactly what it is you are asking, and they could be finding out why you are asking. Your secrets are not necessarily safe. Now, you will, of course, have operator or TOS, and they will promise this, that, and the other. And for the most part, most people will follow these agreements. I, as an IP attorney and a deeply cynical person, would not type my company's secrets into a computer I don't own, using a processor I don't understand, and being monitored by people who I do not know. So that to me is the first big risk of using AI. If you're not running your own, which is possible, then you are giving people information about your company that you probably never intended to see the light of day, let alone be processed by an extraordinarily powerful machine.
So clearly you're not going to put some trade secrets on there. But I mean, particularly us as attorneys, we have to be cautious about putting client information on there, strategy information, and asking AI, you know, here's our knowledge. What do we do with it, kind of thing.
It's theoretically possible that we could even lose attorney-client privilege if
Mm.
somehow this discussion between us and our clients, because anytime you reveal privileged information to a third party who is not covered by some kind of NDA, theoretically you lose the privilege, and now the material can be subpoenaed, can be read, can be reviewed. Am I saying that's going to happen? I don't know. Do I find it likely? Not really, but it is completely plausible. So depending on how sensitive the information is, don't let other people read it, whether or not they're reading it in your emails or behind the processing of a giant LLM that literally no one understands exactly how it works.
So, I mean, everything's details, but what are some of the things that a company can use AI for, and what are some of I mean, I guess we've discussed some of the things they can't, but in order to use AI, obviously it has to be applicable to a number of things. What are those things that you're not at risk by using an AI engine?
What most of the current AI engines are really good at right now is research. If it's like if Google search actually, was thinking about the question that you asked it. I have seen some amazing research results from AI. And as long as your question is general, you're asking about regulatory compliance, or, it could be a very complicated question, but not necessarily a confidential question. I mean, if you make slot machines, everybody knows you need to be compliant with the Johnson Act and state laws. So it's not a big secret that you're asking it, what are the state laws for blah, blah state? It might reveal you're thinking about moving into that state, but so what? That's not a huge deal. So research, big one. They're really good at that. Secondly, they're really good at taking ideas and reforming them. So if you have some kind of general idea, you're just not sure how to describe it, how to put it together. Maybe you want to make a deck. Who knows? As long as it's not super confidential, you can feed it into the AI and say, tell me about this as if I were a venture capitalist, who wanted to know about my company. Or, tell me about this as if I were a company that was looking for venture capital. That's another thing that I see people who are really experts at this doing this, but you can tell the AI to think of itself in a certain form. Respond to me as if you were a venture capitalist. Respond to me as if you were a materials engineer. And I'm asking you, is this strong enough to support such and such a weight? Respond to me as if you were a computer scientist. When I ask you, do I have enough processing power to support a website with 5,000 simultaneous users? That's not hard to figure out if you're an expert, but if you're just a marketing person or somebody with a startup idea, let the AI figure it out for you. They're really good at that. So that's another thing that they're great for, is taking kind of vague ideas, putting them into a more usable format, and giving you opinions based on who you might need to talk about them with.
And when you're saying what's it from a venture capitalist, et cetera, I'm taking it that the AI can take documents, PDFs, Word documents, and decipher them.
Usually, especially if one of the paid subscriptions, they are much more flexible as far as input. Or if you set up your own DeepSeek on your own computer, it will be as flexible as you care to configure it to be. But yeah, a lot of them, it isn't just, like typing in like we did in the long ago days of the 80s when we were playing text adventure games, which they remind me of. But never mind that. But yeah, a lot of them will take in documents. You can point them at websites and say, review such and such a website, or review this video. Give it a link to a YouTube video. Say, review this video as if you were a film critic. Something like that. And they will do it. And if it's a private video and you give them the password, some of them are capable of doing that, others aren't. They can review your film, and you don't even have to make it public. Or if you have it on your own machine, obviously you can just say, the file is such and such, watch it, so to speak, and tell me what you think of it as a film critic. Now, they aren't very good with visual stuff yet, but it will at least listen to the dialogue as it plays, and give you advice on that. But, again, you have to keep in mind the limitations of the thing. It doesn't have eyes. It just processes information in a certain way. I know just enough about how LLMs work to be dangerous. And if you really need them to be part of your business elementally, you need either yourself or somebody, a human being, who understands the principles by which they work. Because otherwise, you might ask it a question and get what seems like a perfectly credible answer, but not realize that it didn't take into account, for the fact that it, for example, cannot see. It can look at pictures by comparing them to other pictures that it has scanned and are in its learning model. But it's very hard to get it to process something visually unless you're very specific with your question, with your prompt. Depending on what you need. If it's something simple, then sure, a simple prompt is fine. But otherwise, if you're going to rely on AI, I think you need somebody, whether that be a contractor or an employee, who understands at least the fundamentals of how they work, so they can make sure you are asking the right questions. Think of it as a genie. It will give you the wish you ask for, but you don't necessarily know what it thinks you are asking for unless you understand how it works.
Well, it reminds me of a movie with Elizabeth Hurley and Brendan Fraser, and he had wishes, and he asked for, or she said, you get three wishes, and it didn't turn out exactly how he thought it would be.
If I recall, that movie's called Bedazzled or Bedeviled or something like that.
Yes, yeah,
It's
something like
really funny. And
yeah.
yes, that is exactly,
Okay.
she was actively hostile because, of course, she was a demon and she wanted its soul. But same idea. The AI is more neutral, but it will do exactly the same thing.
All right. And then I've read numerous articles that not all the information is necessarily 100% accurate, and attorneys have gotten in trouble because it will cite cases that don't even exist or
Yes.
misinterpret that. And so a word of caution for everyone is don't trust 100% and you need to check and verify whatever you get as a result from AI.
Yeah, and that can happen two different ways. It can, if it's just surfing the net and picking up whatever it finds and incorporating it, if it falls into a website that's full of nonsense, it will incorporate that into its matrix. Or, depending on how it's configured, they aim to please. So if you say, "Tell me a case that supports my point," in this trial I'm in, an excellent example. If it can't find one, it will make one up. And you will never know it unless you double check. And that, as Michael said, happened to some lawyers, and they got into very, very big trouble because
Yeah,
citing non-existent cases is not something judges find amusing.
no, and the clients are, I'm sure, not thrilled
Yeah.
either.
And the second call you make is to your insurance carrier.
Right.
The first one is to the judge saying, "I'm so sorry." And the second one is to your insurance carrier saying, "We may have an issue."
And then going back to what you should not put on, I assume if you've got client lists and how do I rearrange my client list or personal information? You don't put that on.
No,
You don't use
because
that.
anything you put into it stays in there forever. Prompts become part of its matrix.
Right. Okay, that's good to know.